time and light and space and matter, before the cataclysm, before this universe was created.
Before there was time, before there was anything, there was nothing. And before there was nothing, there were monsters.
These unimaginable abominations inhabited a universe that existed long before ours even came to be. They managed by unknown powers to warp the reality of their own universe with obscure laws and twisted space in ways unimaginable to the beings that exist within their own universe. By some ancient eldritch magic, they managed to transcend the death of their own universe and managed to persist across the void as they lay claim to new territories. As we see from Lovecraftian lore, this seems to imply that they predate all existence. As these outer gods appear to be all that remain of their previous universe, they are kept in existence but only from the fact that the leader of their cult exists and dreams of their existence, then hence creating them in reality. So we see that the great cosmic beast Azathoth slumbers within the void, and as the great dreamer, it is him who must be kept asleep by the demons that chant around him, lest he awaken and the dream shatter, ridding the universe of the remnants of these ancient cosmic beings. While these primordials dwelt in the void, we would find that our universe would come into being from what appears to be a condensed singularity created from the collapse of a previous universe. Within this singularity, the laws of reality are non-existent. All forces are unified. Space has but a single point, and time exists at every moment. Infinite energy is compressed within the point of an atom. This is but the mere ember of a universe which would be used to reignite the spark which would create the Big Bang. This massive explosion would bring into effect the three linchpin forces that drive the universe: space, time, and energy. Space being the framework in which the universe expands, energy being distributed across that framework, and time existing as the scale for how long it takes that energy to travel across the framework of space. With the universe now expanding, the forces are no longer harmonized as a single unified point, so we can infer from many works of fiction the embodiment of this unified force is now shattered as the universe begins to fracture as it expands, and so unity becomes the cosmos, who sits in opposition to Oblivion, the god of uncreation, the antithesis of the universe and the end of all things. This new cosmic entity would form its own pantheon of the gods of the newly created forces, and so the gods of space, energy and time become the triad of this new realm. It is worth noting at this time that the primal cosmos was a region devoid of all logic and reasoning. Unobserved and uninhabited, any changes to time can occur here regardless of the paradoxes involved, which gave rise to ancient Huon particles in the early stages of the universe. And logic would dictate to us, as the universe expanded over time, it gradually accelerated time itself, as the gravity well of the cosmos was distributed into an ever-expanding space, and so time would gradually accelerate as space unfurls. Space, however, would not evenly distribute the energy inside of it, and so due to the massive changes in density across different regions, massive one-dimensional cracks in space-time would form across the cosmos and become super dense cosmic strings which lacerated across the entirety of space. This would come to be the blueprint for the cosmic web. As space continued to expand, we would also see that energy would allow for the existence of particles with space between them, and so matter and antimatter, basic elementary particles, would come into being and eventually, upon contact with each other, annihilate into more photons. And so as we know that antimatter is in actual fact more unstable than matter, what appears to happen within the universe in its early stages is all of the antimatter appears to be completely wiped out to form energy, while remnants of the matter exist and remain scattered across the cosmos. And it is possible that these may explain where the Birkeland currents that exist across the cosmic web come from. Following this massive annihilation event, the universe would now be a thick gluon quark plasma of elementary particles, and this prima matter, as it is called, would slowly condense, giving enough space and lower temperatures. It would now begin to build the basic matter nuclei of hydrogen and helium, and this is only 3 minutes into the existence of the universe. By 370,000 years of age, the universe has cooled enough that the atoms are formed by the nuclei joining with electrons, which allows the universe to now become transparent to any observer that would be able to see it, beginning what is known as the Dark Age, as space and the cosmos become a transparent void of nothingness, while electrons are pairing up and photons become the dominant space between atoms. By 10 million years of age, the universe has cooled enough to support liquid water. However, this era was only filled with basic stellar components such as hydrogen and potentially helium, and so although the universe could have supported liquid water, there wasn't any around by this point to exist. During this dark age, we would see that the ancient pre-universals, as well as potentially primordial beings created of sentience unbound to a body, could exist within this ancient firmament and, using godlike powers, bend and twist reality and matter to their own will, creating their own creations, allowing potentially the earliest of life to be formed literally to serve these ancient beings. And so this gives rise to the great old ones, beings such as Boltzmann brains, which are literally just energy existing in the exact right configuration to create a brain, holding itself together to maintain its existence. This dark age was ruled by magic and chaos, and time itself would constantly be shifting and changing and tearing due to the actions of literally these deities rewriting reality, to the point that a lot of those beings that were created to serve them could end up just falling afoul of being driven to madness by the sheer insanity of reality itself. And this would give rise to the duality of reality, the two beings embodying order and chaos who compete in a cosmic game for all eternity. This dark age would last until 150 million years into the universe, where the first stars would burst into life, forging new elements that they would spit out across the universe upon their deaths, and allow pockets of life to begin forming in a great panspermia across the cosmos as they forge life-giving elements. These most basic forms of life are not subject to free will. They act on chemical instinct in a predetermined fashion. These spaceborne life forms would metabolize via chemosynthesis for those in darker areas, and potentially radiosynthesis or even photosynthesis for those that could brave to survive around the atmosphere of stars. The first outburst of life that we would see would start as microbial and viral, and then progress to a sort of fungal spore life forms in space, jellyfish, slime mold, symbiotes, potentially assimilative colonial microbes like the creature from It. Eventually, these would give rise to the cosmic worms, sectoid crustaceans, and floating star-like beings. Some species of cosmic worm would eventually diversify to create star whales, mindworms, and even space slugs, while the spore beings would eventually give rise to such things as sarlaccs or even crinoids. Eventually, evolution would drive life forms to the point where higher awareness would become a thing due to the evolution of brains. We would find that certain races would begin to actually observe and understand the universe, being an embodiment of the universe perceiving itself, and so they would begin to form religions and believe that they themselves were the first of their kind. Potentially there is no way to know who exactly was, but this would lead to disputes among these early primordial beings. So we would find that other beings would also develop in the darkness away from stars, such as these shadowkin or dark elves, and they would see the formation of stars beyond their homes as horrifying and destructive, and so retreat into the darkness of the voids, vowing to destroy the stars and return their homes to permanent darkness. A vast pantheon of beings would form to encompass the complexities of the existence of brains, and we see that the primal id of desire vies with the logical superego, with the balancer ego forming as the conscience which governs and balances out the two of these, which we see in Star Wars as the Mortis gods. We would also see the evolution of the emotion gods, of bliss, dread, enmity and empathy, who form and sit in opposition of apathy. There would also come into existence the embodiments of ingenuity and also epiphany, as well as truth and deceit. These primordial beings would therefore begin to spread out into this early universe and run afoul of the cosmic horrors lurking in the void, waiting to ensnare them. We would find that great battles would rage between the beings of unfathomable power. Creatures such as Carianites would evolve in this environment, using literal harmonics and words as law of physics. The constant battle of wills between these ancient beings would also create a sort of rip in time and space due to the constant and ever-changing nature of what would be perceived as the true reality. So born of this flux, we would find several ancient horrific creatures would come into existence, such as abhorrents or weeping angels, echoes of erased realities that cling to existence and feed off of potential timelines as a means of continuing their own existence. We would see beings such as chronivores as well take advantage of this situation, evolving to feed on time itself, and then also beings such as the Ravagers from Doctor who are born from the flux of reality and are basically chaos incarnate, being able to do multiple abilities which do not in any way follow the laws of reality that we know. We would even come to see that some beings would be completely cast out of their timelines due to the ever-shifting reality and become minds adrift in the void, such as Eternals, seeking purpose and feeding off the creativity and existence of sapient beings in order to sustain their existence across immortality. We would also see that the ever-changing ripping of time and space itself would give birth to beings such as Eliath, the manifestation of the tears in time. This era would also give rise to beings such as the Elders of the Universe, who develop using this reality manipulation of will to ensure their survival across immortality, spanning the length of the universe under specific circumstances related to their own existence, such as the Collector, whose only goal is to exist purely to collect life forms. And we see that the Collector also functions in a much similar way to encyclopods and other entities from across science fiction who head out into the universe in order to collect specimens of each civilization and preserve them before extinction in order to keep a record of their existence. It is also at this time that the being that would become the first celestial would be born, when a planet becomes a singularity collapsing into itself and encompassing the geo, bio and noospheres of the entire life forms that existed within it. And this prime celestial would set out to ensure balance existed in the universe, and so began planting celestial seeds across the universe to ensure that the universe would extend and continue long beyond its projected death, and also sought to prevent life from overrunning it and making it end prematurely. To aid in this, it would create deviants, beings created as a means of ensuring races are given an opponent, which would ensure that they evolve into apex predators. They are able to basically adapt to any and every issue or environment that they come across. The Celestials would greatly weaken these outer gods and strip them of their power by instituting causality and rationality within the universe, by forging the Infinity Stones and anchoring the flow of time within the universe. These stones existing allows the timeline of the universe to have an overarching structure, where before there was a never-ending wave of changes like tides on a beach.
The Infinity Stones create what you experience as the flow of time. remove one of the stones, and that flow splits. Now this may benefit your...
It is from this point that parallel realities come into being, with different laws of physics and each ranging from practically the same to infinitely different, giving rise to the wider multiverse. And so we see, with the formation of the cosmic web and time being rationalised, the only forms of what appears to be magic that existed now within the universe ceased to be chaos magic as it had been before, and now became celestial cosmic magic based on harmonics and alignments. And so this would mean that the only beings still holding any real stake of power were potentially those created by the outer gods and are now known as the Great Old Ones, who exploit this power. As we see in Adventure Time, being able to harmonise with the universe and create magic requires a being to be mentally advanced enough to be aware of reality and their place in it, requiring a being to question their existence as part of the universe, leading to existential dread as sadness and also madness from the cosmic truths that they unfold. It is believed that once you accept reality, it is not as fixed as you think it is, and it is easier to alter it.